AMA number 4. We got me, Man Bear Pig. Who else is here?
Announce yourselves.
I am here. I, alanman, am here.
Eagle Screech. I'm also hanging around.
And it is I, Jay.
And of course, me, JDM.
Okay, where you boys want to start at?
Well, I guess we could just start with the first question. It's a pretty, I don't know, I think it's gonna be a pretty softball question. So, so regarding hardware transcoding, what are the best CPUs with integrated GPU that are available? Highest pass mark with beefy hardware compatible GPU. Well, I don't think that you can get any. There aren't many 2011 Xeons that have it. I don't think any regular 2011s have it. Maybe some 2011 3s have iGPU, but I really doubt it. Um,
And even at that point, not worth the price.
yeah, the bigger question is, if you want a beefy CPU, why do you need hardware transcoding?
And answer, you don't.
Yeah, because hardware transcoding is the transcoder settings are hard locked, or like they're hard coded into the iGPU. So, um, like QuickSync looks just objectively bad compared to just regular software transcoding. And really, even then, you're limited to, I think, two simultaneous transcodes on hardware.
I was just going to ask that. I think it's still limited to just only 2
Yeah.
transcodes.
So you're not really gaining a whole lot there. So your users are A, going to complain that the quality is terrible, and then B, you're only limited to two anyway. So that's not really taking a whole lot of load off of your processor. Um, so I don't know. I definitely don't think it's worth it. For me, hardware transcoding comes into play when you've got like a super low power system, like I use hardware transcoding on an Intel Compute stick that has like 700 pass mark, and the hardware transcoding is way better than 700 pass mark at transcoding. So that's the case where I would use it. But realistically, if you have even like 6,000 pass mark, I still wouldn't use it.
No, and your Intel CompuStick, that's basically just for yourself.
Yeah, that would just be like a compatibility thing. Like if I'm out on the road and I want to take a mini Plex server with me, I'll bring that, and then I'll do like instead of transcoding all or converting all of my files to something compatible, I don't have to worry about it. It'll transcode them for me.
Basically a mobile server.
Yeah, but that's just like a even then that's kind of like a fringe use case. Um, and then part two of that question is anything else related to hardware transcoding. Uh, NVIDIA NVENC has the same settings issue where the I guess it's FFmpeg settings that are baked in. So you really can't change anything regarding that, and it's going to look objectively worse than software transcoding. And also, you have the two stream limit. So even if you have a 1080 Ti in there, you can only do two hardware transcoding streams. And spending $700 on a 1080 Ti, you might as well just buy a nicer rig.
For sure.
Anybody else have anything to add?
No, I mean, I think you pretty well covered it.
Has anyone actually used hardware transcoding?
I've looked it up. I haven't actually used it. Just based on what I've seen, it looked very unimpressive.
Yeah. Like you were saying, I mean, it just doesn't seem worth it compared to just spending that little bit more and just getting a bigger pass mark
Yeah,
on your CPUs.
I think like it's good on some more integrated devices. Like I think Synology NASs can use it, but I mean they're pretty low pass mark anyway, so that's more of where it would come into play. But I mean, if you've got like 12K pass mark, which is achievable, I mean, you can get dual X5670 for like what, $70?
Mm-hmm.
That's like 12,500 pass mark. You shouldn't need hardware transcoding.
And it like you're saying, it's objectively worse. It looks pretty bad compared to just doing software.
Yeah, I mean, most computers and laptops have iGPUs nowadays, especially if you're just running like an i7 or something. So install Plex server and try it out, and tell me it doesn't look like crap because it really does. But yeah, feel free to prove me wrong. But um,
That sounds like a challenge.
For science.
For science, of course.
someone want to take the next one?
Yeah. Is it worth building a crypto rig these days?
Well,
I'm assuming they mean crypto mining, of course, but
yeah,
just a
just like a
standalone
mining rig.
rig. Yeah, mining rig with GPUs.
I would say if you have the GPUs, run a miner on your computer if you can stomach the power costs. Run what you got. Don't buy more just to mine. At least not GPUs.
Yeah, the current market for GPUs is just wacky. Way too high priced.
You
Yeah, I
might
mean,
have better luck gambling on the GPU price fluctuations. Buy
yeah, the
low,
prices
sell
are coming
high.
down a little bit too, but still.
They have been, yes.
What's your Twitch link again?
Twitch.tv/manbearpig. Sorry, cough. manbearpig_TV.
Ah, that's right. Okay. We got somebody waiting in the waiting room. You want to pull them in?
Oh, sure.
Welcome.
Yeah, what's going on?
How's it going, man?
Welcome to the show.
Oh, it's just another wonderful day.
So what's up? What can we answer? What can we talk about?
So, reaching out with some of my friends, that are good gaming buddies. We've been thinking about combining forces, and coming together to make a group project out of what you guys have been doing around here. Building rigs for various purposes. And the biggest question that came up amongst the four of us is, other than price between old used hardware and newer hardware, are we still going to get the same performance out of some of this older hardware that we could see from newer stuff, like running a dual Xenon 5650 rig, with a video card from it? Can we expect close to similar performance out of like something like a Ryzen today?
Depends on what you're doing with it.
Exactly.
I mean, the majority of the four of us are gaming. We share media amongst each other, and it's real casual stuff. It's nothing crazy. It's just almost a hybrid home theater PC.
Yeah, I mean, I personally run a single socket 2011 system for my home theater, and I mean, I love it. It works great, but if the way I see it, if you're at all into competitive style gaming, um, like Counter Strike or anything like high FPS oriented, uh, you're gonna benefit a lot more from clock speed, which is gonna lean more towards i7s and more recent things. Um, but if you're running it like 4K 60 FPS or 1080p 60 FPS, and that's going to be more GPU dependent. So you can run, like I don't have any problems running games on a 3.8 gigahertz or 3.5 gigahertz or a 3.0 gigahertz Xeon at those resolutions and frame rates. But in order to push higher frame rates above 60 FPS, you're going to have to move towards the 4 gigahertz to 4.5 gigahertz range. And that's just kind of a general rule. So that's just something to
And
consider.
yeah, and I can contest to that. I used to game on dual E5 2630Ls, which are turbo at 2.5 gigahertz, and PUBG went from it kept dropping to about 30 to 45 frames per second, and I upgraded to 26 or
Yeah,
E5.
2667.
Yeah, E5 2667 duals, which turbo to 3.5 gigahertz, and it's at pretty much a standard 60 to 75 frames per second, and that's with a GTX 1060 3 gigabyte graphics card.
Yeah, and that's like a straight up 1 gigahertz improvement,
Right.
and no additional cores or anything. They're both 6 core, 12 thread.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it really depends on what you're doing. If you're, games don't really take advantage of a lot of cores,
yeah,
but if you're using it for media, Plex is going to take advantage of that.
the advantage with more cores is you're just gonna be able to multitask a lot more. So it's nice being able to have all the extra cores and be like, okay, well, Plex, you can go use those cores while I do gaming or whatever on these. And like my home theater PC, for example, I don't have a problem recording software, uh, H264 or X264, whatever, uh, through CPU while I'm playing games because it's a single 8 core with 16 threads, and most games are about quad core optimized. So
It really just depends on what you actually need it for.
For me personally, I've been running a Plex server for about 6 months, and so this is all a lot of new stuff to me. Going out there and finding used equipment, that's new to me. I've never built on old processor or old server equipment, stuff like that. So it's weird and it's foreign, and I'm sitting here, pushing the button, to buy some of the stuff, and I'm like, is this going to be worth it, or is this motherboard going to take a crap on me in the next 8 months?
I think you'll be really surprised that like the longevity that most of us are experiencing. I mean, it's even surprising me because I have some systems that I bought used about 3 years ago. They're still trucking along, and I mean, I definitely don't treat them as nicely as I do my main rig. I mean, like they're on 24/7. They're in a garage that's, I mean, it gets probably 80, 85 degrees in the garage in the summer, maybe even warmer, and they're just working. They just work.
And
Yeah, the
I
thing
think,
about server parts is they're kind of designed for that longevity. They're designed to be run 24/7.
yeah, that's what I was gonna get at. Basically, a lot of the old, well, quote older Xeons, they're like the first gen i7s of the modern day. They're similar.
Well, and
You know,
it's Intel a lot of the time leads with the Xeon series. So like
ex-
they'll
yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
yeah. So when they come out with a new architecture or something, they'll come out with the Xeon first, and then it'll be stupidly expensive. Like I don't know if you've looked at the retail price of X5650s, but it was like I think they were like $1,200 or $1,300 back in the day.
I
So
think
so like in 2010 or whatever year they came out, I mean to get a dual Xeon rig, for the processors alone is over $2,000. So if you start at that high level of performance back then, and then translates to now, I mean, if you can get the pair for $25 each, so $50 for the pair, um, it's still going to offer a surprising amount of performance nowadays.
yeah. When the X5650 first came out, it was about $1,000 each.
Yeah, I think 5670s were like 1,200 or something like that. And
Let me look.
and the other thing, a lot of the improvements Intel has made over the past couple of years, I would say the past 8 years, hasn't necessarily been to performance. It's been more to power efficiency and being able to cram more cores into a chip and adding new features. So while performance has improved over the years, it's not as much as you might think from like, the year 2000 to the year 2005. There was a huge jump in performance. But if you go from the year, 5 years ago, so 2013 to 2018, there's still competitive chips from 2013 with today.
Yeah, I just checked. The X5670 came out in Q1 2010 and was about $1,400
Wow.
each.
Yeah. It's absolutely nuts to think you can get them for $35.
Yeah,
And they're what, 8,000 passmark per?
I think that sounds right.
Like how much do you have to spend to get 8,000 passmark nowadays?
For a new CPU, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't even know what that would be.
It's a couple $100 at least, right?
So to get like, for example, my FX 6300 by AMD,
Yeah.
right now is $70 on Amazon, and that's sitting at like 8,900 passmark.
I don't believe you. What's the passmark of?
It's 6,383.
Yeah. Where did you see
Oh.
8K?
I might have missed. I've been looking at a lot of processors the past week.
It's okay.
So
Yeah, no, I believe you on the price. I didn't believe you on the passmark score.
You did say FX 6300, right?
yes, I did.
Yep, that's 6383 pass mark.
Yes.
So other than that, looking at processors and stuff, the biggest other, purchasing point for me is taking that step, and looking at some of the older equipment, or should I take that step up and look at, the LGA 2011 socket instead of the LGA 1366 as a matter of, taking that step into a better future-proof spot,
It depends on how much you want to spend. That's really what it comes down to, and it's kind of like cars too. I mean, you can buy a Ford Focus from 2003, or you can buy the new gen Focus from 2007, or you can buy the current gen from like 2012, and they're all essentially the same car, but they're not really. So it's the newer ones are definitely going to carry a price premium over 1366, especially. If you want to get your hands dirty and you just want to play around with some stuff, and you're like, you know what, I got $300 to just throw at this and see what happens. Go 1366, because you're going to have a great time. You're going to learn a lot, and then you can turn around and sell it for pretty much what you bought it for.
Okay. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
And
Yeah.
to talk about, or like what I was trying to say earlier, nowadays like a i5 7400, that's 7,383 passmark, and last price I saw on that was 180, and to get over 8,000 passmark, you're gonna have to spend even more than that. But let's just use that as a comparison. You can get a single X5670 for $35, and you don't have to use DDR4. You can use really cheap DDR3 ECC, and the motherboard for single 1366 is what, $60-$70,
I think so, yeah.
and for dual 1366 it's like $75 if you use the best offer, or say worst
Yeah,
case $100.
Definitely under 100, yeah.
Yeah.
The ECC RAM is going to benefit you too, because it's going to correct memory errors. You can leave the system on for longer.
Yep.
And screw DDR4 prices.
What? Okay, so here's the other thing. We don't talk about this a whole lot, but like, somebody give me a price on like DDR4 2400 16 gig. So just find like something.
$170.
170.
Yes.
Let's see, the 16 gig is. Bet she's under.
Like
$50.
2x8?
Yeah, 2x8. So dense. $45.
Oh, for DDR3.
Yeah, DDR3.
Oh, that's a DDR4.
No, I said DDR. Like, I wanted someone else to give me the price, and I was gonna look up the DDR3 price. So to compare, if you said $170 at the lower end, and like maybe that's I don't know if that's on sale or just like the normal price, but
Yeah, it's like an on sale price.
Yeah, I think DDR4 for that it's 150 to 175 ish.
Okay, so about a third of the price for an equivalent amount of RAM, and you're not going to see any noticeable performance increase. I mean, especially Plex. Plex doesn't give a shit about RAM or RAM speed. So long as you have more than 4 gig and your RAM exists and it runs, it does not care.
So in all reality, RAM basically really only be used for, basically the metadata part of Plex?
Well, most of us store our metadata on
SSDs.
yeah. So it'll just be able to pick up whatever file it needs randomly. It doesn't need to seek to a certain sector and then pick it up. Metadata is a bunch of small files, and RAM Plex uses just for transcoding files. So like if it's transcoding a segment, it'll put it in RAM, transcode it, and then write it to the transcode directory ahead of time. I usually use an SSD, or you can actually use RAM for a transcode directory too. As far as servers go, we use RAM for virtual machines. So we'll allocate, between 2 and 4 gig for each virtual machine. If you have a application that needs more, you can allocate as much RAM as you want to a virtual machine. But pretty standard is 2 to 4 gig, or sometimes 8.
Yeah, Plex itself doesn't use a lot of RAM. I've got a pretty beastly system that it's got like dual 2660s, and I have 10 people transcoding right now, and the whole system's only using like 6 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, that's the whole system, right? Not just Plex.
That's the whole system. That's 10 people watching
Yeah.
transcode. 9 of those are transcodes.
Yeah. But like game servers take a lot of RAM. Like if you were to run a WoW server and you want to preload all of the maps, you could easily use 20 gig of RAM. So that's an instance where you might want more. But imagine like I've got, and this is not me boasting, but I've got 128 gig in my one server and 192 in the other.
EPing.
Just think of how much that would cost at DDR4 prices. I mean, it's absolutely nuts how much that costs.
Probably
Right here to mortgage your home.
three grand plus.
Yeah, I mean, I bought 8 16 gig sticks on sale at eBay for $210, and that was a good deal. That was a really good deal. But you'd never imagine, I don't know, one 16 gig stick for that at DDR4 prices. So it's just a lot of value proposition stuff is what we try to focus on. I mean, you can get it just really depends on what you want to accomplish. That's the right tool for the job. I'm not trying to shit on newer hardware and say it's bad. It's definitely not bad. It's just, is it what you need? And the answer is usually probably not.
I mean, and going back a little bit on another thing you were talking about was that basically enterprise hardware, yes, we buy it used. You're concerned about it may fail, but most of that kind of equipment is built to last a lot longer than consumer grade equipment. And along with that, if it's going to have a failure, it's typically going to have had a failure before you even get to see the hardware. Generally speaking.
Well, and if something fails in one of our servers, how much is just straight up buying a replacement versus RMAing it? I mean, if God forbid a processor dies, I'm like, oh no, I got to spend $35 on a new processor.
Cheaper than doing an RMA.
Yeah. So what else are you guys planning to do with your boxes?
That's right now what I've been trying to figure out is just figuring out streaming over VPN, because the military drags me around a lot all over the United States, and I finally upgraded my internet, so I have a good upload speed, good download speed, so was playing with trying to figure out how to get streaming over VPN done.
Why do you feel like you need to stream over VPN?
Because just given how much stuff I carry around when I'm traveling, I don't want to carry around a big laptop for gaming. So it's kind of, it's that laptop can't necessarily handle gaming, but streaming can be good. And typically wherever I go, to military installations and stuff, we have great internet. It's never a doubt.
Are you talking about streaming games over VPN?
Correct.
I'm gonna tell you right now, it's not possible. Not feasible, especially on a consumer standard. The latency is going to be way, way too high. Think about the amount of time it's going to take from a button press at your current location to your server, and then it's got to send that video back to your current location. If your ping is 15 milliseconds or 25 milliseconds, that's half a second. Not half a second. It's just it's not feasible. I've even tried. Have you tried NVIDIA's Game Stream service or GeForce Now service?
I have.
Did you find it acceptable?
For what it offered, if you have the internet to handle it, yes.
That is going to be a absolute best case scenario. And the latency didn't bother you at all?
No, I mean, there were a few moments where you could tell there was definitely some latency, but overall, in the entire gaming period, it wasn't enough to, make me frustrated or upset, because it was a very short little blip, and I understand it's a new thing that came out and they're working on testing it.
Well, have you considered just buying a decent laptop for it?
And I've debated that too. It's just, I'm just thinking of what do I want my hardware to do? Just thinking of different possibilities, and if it's not possible, it's not, and then I yank out the good video card, throw something cheapy in there, and throw it in a different build.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible. It's just it's going to be a lot of headache for very little payoff, and I think you can get a decent laptop for around $600. I mean, I linked one earlier in hardware today. I have a similar laptop I take with me to work, and it does everything I need to do, totally fine. Games at 1080p. I mean, when you're on the road and stuff, like, do you really need to sit down and like play a competitive shooter or like play a game at the highest settings? Like that's kind of what I want to do at home. When I'm out on the road, usually I play more casual things, or I watch stuff from Plex, which would be probably where I would orient my server to more.
Which is what mine is centralized around right now is Plex, just building my library.
Yeah. Yeah, there's... Were you the guy that was talking about micro ATX earlier?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. We were having a conversation about ATX versus micro ATX earlier with someone. Let's put it this way. If you get a decent server, a lot of people are like, I don't know what to do with my server. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fully utilize it, or why do you need a system that powerful? You'll grow into it really, really fast, and then you'll be like, okay, how can I upgrade this? And it happens really quickly.
Very, very quickly.
Yeah, it's like the goldfish growing to the size of its tank,
And that's where my inexperience comes in, because my dad grew up in an IT background, so he passed down what he knew to me, and so I've grown up around computers ever since I could walk, and
yeah,
a lot of my stuff I've learned is self-taught. But when you start getting into like working with servers and networking and setting up servers and building them, it's a new area for me. I've never done stuff like that.
Yeah,
And
go ahead.
oh, sorry. a big thing. People hear the word server and all that, and they think it's so much different. It's not much different than just building a normal computer. It's just different parts, but they go together the same way.
I mean, you're gonna like building servers because it's very documentation heavy, and they're pretty cut and dry with the requirements and the specs and everything.
Especially like super micro motherboards, they just tell you everything
Yeah,
in the docs.
and that's one of the things like you brought up. Where you're like, well, you have no experience with servers and stuff. Yeah, it's definitely like a new frontier for a lot of people, especially if you're coming from building gaming rigs and stuff like that, which is where I came from. But um, I'm trying to do my best to make the community friendly to new people and make my guides friendly to new people because it's definitely different and finding the right parts and like it's super easy to get overwhelmed with terms and acronyms and this or that or a specific thing or um, but yeah, I think like Manbear said, you're gonna find that it's not too different from building a regular computer, especially if you just check out the guides and see what's there and see if it kind of fits what you need. Um, and that's the other thing I want to say. I don't want to be like the last stop or the final say for like your foray into servers. I want to be the bridge from you getting into gaming and stuff like that, and not just you, like anyone, into like here's your first steps in the server and give you the tools to be like, oh, what else can I do with this? Like, what's the next thing? Like, can I run a cluster or can I do PF Sense and build my own router? Things like that. So there's definitely more you can do, and there's no like community or there's no person that's kind of bridging that gap between gaming and consumer market and then the server and professional market. And I think that buying a lot of this stuff used on eBay and playing around with it and creating what you want, that's kind of helping bridge the gap.
Yeah, it's a combination of what you want and what you need.
And then the other question I had is I know you did a video on that Broswell
Uh-huh.
server case for that $375 build. Have you seen that 8-bay 4-fan? It's basically the shorter equivalent of it. Is it much smaller than that?
Uh, it's the same dimensions. I mean, it's still for you, and it's still the same width because it's a standard rack width. It's just shorter. Um, it should
So
give
it
you the
can't,
dimensions on Amazon.
Oh,
because
okay.
I
it's
think
shorter. I don't think it can fit the same size motherboards.
I think it can actually. I think what they did was they removed the fan wall in the middle,
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
which is kind of unfortunate. I prefer the fan wall in the middle because otherwise the server's going to be pretty loud if you put the fans in the front. Um, but yeah, it's if that's not what you want to go for, that's fine. I just I come up with a build and I recommend something, but there's always other options. Have you heard of the Fantex Anthu Pro?
Yeah, no, it was basically those two cases I'm trying to decide, because I don't have any really where to put a server, besides the closet floor, so
Well, you can stand it
in
on the
my,
side too. It's just
I
long.
can.
Oh yeah, the top screws on. It's just a metal box. You can stand it on its side, and you can get rubber feet if you don't want it to scratch up your floor, like those
Yeah,
stick-on rubber feet.
the hard drives don't care.
Yeah, so long as you don't move them while it's turned on,
Yes.
the hard drives
And I
don't
think
care.
I think you can take the dog ears off of it too, off the front.
Yeah, you can take the handles off. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like the rack mount stuff.
Yeah.
I was looking at mine.
Oh, you got one too?
Yeah, I have the long one for my desktop. That's where my desktop is right now.
Don't tell me your monitor is sitting on it.
No, I have like a 20U rack that all of my all my network stack, my
Yeah.
Unraid server, and my desktop are all in.
Do you have a StarTech rack?
No, I built like a 2x4 rack,
Oh, nice.
and I wrapped it in plywood. I have to
Okay.
paint it, so.
Yeah, I'm using like a 20U StarTech rack. I didn't get rails for my Rosewell, so it's just sitting on top of one of my other super micros right now, which is kind of sketchy.
That's what mine is doing right now too. Yeah, I don't. And I've talked with, I think it's Eagle a bit about those APC, the UPS rails that you can use. Or is that Ord? I can't remember.
Your internet's also a little sketchy.
Mine,
Why?
it always is.
No, he sounds fine.
No, just in general. You have shit internet.
Oh, okay. How does that
Just
relate
as an
to our
aside.
how does that relate to our current
Talk about it.
conversation?
The problem with my internet is that I'm always like, I'll be like hanging out here, and like NZ Beget will be going at the same time. So that's my problem.
Why don't you just throttle it?
Because
Because it's shit internet.
Who's got it worse? Dual, what's your speed? I'm pretty sure mine.
I have 10100 or 110. I'm sorry.
That's
Oh, I
not
thought that
shit.
was Alan talking. Sorry.
No, it's not Mr. Regular. No one has shittier internet than what I have right now.
Alan like to pipe up.
What's your
so-
down and up, Alan?
I get 6 down and I get 0.3 up on a good day. Now, let
Okay,
me
I've got
remind you
beat
that
on
I
the
have
up,
DSL.
but I have
on
1.5 down right now. I'll
Okay, yours is actually worse.
yeah, I have 1.5 down and I have 0.8 up.
Your upload's better though.
I was
so-
gonna say, I think your up's better than his.
But either way, it's still not enough to do anything with.
So
Have you ever tried to stream at 800 megabit,
run off of that.
800 kilobit? I'm at work. I'm at work right now, so this isn't my home internet.
Well,
Just,
the difference is that when you're at work, when the wind blows really hard, your internet doesn't go out. Mine does.
Gosh.
If he looks at his DSL modem wrong, it goes out.
It goes out. Yeah, I get 6 down on a good day. Most days I get between 1 and 3.
Ooh.
oof.
So, shall we go to the next topic?
Yeah, wait, Blade, do you have any more questions, man?
I was going to ask that also.
We've pretty much covered, my general questions in the server hardware department area. So
I'm not gonna kick you out. You got some good questions. You should hang out if you have time.
I'll be.
Yeah,
right. I'm probably gonna run to McDonald's and grab some food really quick, but that's 5 minutes down the
You
road.
can keep listening, or if you have any other questions, just ask in one of the hardware channels.
Yeah, or you can just ask here too. I mean, go get some food
You
and
take
come
us
hang
all
out.
with you to
I'm
McDonald's.
sure we'll still be here.
Yeah, we always
Can you bring?
It's
we're always
Can
like,
you bring
yeah,
me
we'll do this
food?
for half an hour, and then it ends up being 3 hours, and we're like, fuck.
it is free French Fry Friday for the next Fridays for the rest of the year. You
What?
get
Free Fry
bean
Friday?
fries with $1 spent.
Wait,
Are you
what happened
serious?
to the Chewbacca question on the spreadsheet?
I deleted that shit.
What was
That
it?
was you, wasn't it?
No, it was not me.
I want to know what it was now.
Well, it was.
God da-
It was like what?
Just go to the form responses on the sheet.
We're acknowledging that there was a question, but we've chosen to disregard it.
Do you think Chewbacca has a human dick or one of those red rocket things like dogs get?
Oh,
I
God.
clicked on the first spreadsheet link, and that was like the first question. And I was like, "Oh gosh."
I should have made it mandatory that people need to put their usernames in.
It's not that good of a question, honestly. It's not as good as the trap question,
Yeah.
because that's a philosophical question right there. But well, maybe
Wait,
we'll
there was
go over
another
that later.
question?
No, it's a meme question.
Oh, never mind.
It's the question. Are traps gay? You know what a trap is, right?
Of course.
Okay. Well, the question is, are traps gay?
I feel like that's a loaded question. I mean,
I know my answer. Jaywire,
I don't know.
do you have anything to add?
they have a penis, right? Isn't that the whole point of a trap?
But if you don't see the penis, is it gay?
It's only gay if balls touch.
But seriously, if you don't see the penis, is it gay? If you don't know,
Not gay if you're getting
What would that be? Schrodinger's penis?
yes, it's Schrodinger's penis.
It either exists or it does not exist.
Schrodinger's penis.
It could exist and not exist at the same time.
The fact that it exists and doesn't exist at the same time, that's just the ridiculous part.
That's the crux of the question.
So that just happened.
So nice try with the Chewbacca question, but there are better questions to be answered. Let's transition from that into what security software must you have on a server or NAS?
IDS.
I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it's Windows built-in software is adequate if you don't do anything stupid.
Yeah, I think it's
I don't.
it's gonna be
Basically,
running
don't
extra.
be stupid.
Yeah, don't have any sketchy browsing habits. Don't Google and click on the first ad link that you see.
Oh yeah,
for
here's
shit.
an idea.
Just don't.
Here's
don't
an
be an end
idea.
user.
Don't browse the web on your server.
That too, yeah.
Now you're asking too much.
If you
Don't
do,
expose
have it be a
services?
VM.
What's that?
Yeah, don't expose it. Although I'm guilty of that.
You can just throw up a VM and do that shit if you want.
Yeah, throw up a Linux
I run a-
VM and browse.
I run a VPN gateway through a VM, and I use that for most of my stuff. But I mean,
What are
If
you
you,
looking at?
If you're running Linux and you have to have SSH exposed, definitely install something like fail2ban. So you can't hit your server a million times for a login.
you can also just change your SSH port.
And you can do that too. That's a good way to do it. But I would still recommend it.
Don't
at a
SSH me,
minimum.
bro.
At a minimum, get like fail2ban if you're on any kind of Linux system.
Yeah, see, I don't even know about that kind of stuff. What does it do?
So fail2ban basically, if you hit the server a bunch of times with incorrect logins, it just denies you.
Just
Oh,
bans that IP.
But it's
It just
but
just
you
bans
can
it in
set the
route table.
threshold for what it bans at too. Yeah.
Huh.
So you can set it at 1, and if you type the password in wrong, you can't get into your shit.
One
For
time.
how,
you're
for
done.
how long? For an indefinite amount of
Forever.
time, or
It
Yeah,
adds
it
it to the
adds-
route table, so it's permanently there until you remove it.
nice. Interesting.
I think the default is 3 within a certain time frame.
Don't run a Tor exit node. No matter how much you want to do it, don't do it.
Hell, don't even run a Bitcoin node. Because
I did a Vertcoin node a lot, and then all of a sudden it got a lot of weird Russian traffic, and I killed it.
yeah, I got.
What about that JDM coin?
Yeah.
The only 3 times I got DDoS was when my roommate was running a Bitcoin node and he didn't tell me. And I'm like, why are we getting spammed with traffic? And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, bro.
I don't know.
So yeah, the best security software is following best practices and being
A firewall.
safe.
A firewall.
Hardware firewall. I would say a hardware firewall over a software one. I mean, I guess it's also technically a software firewall, but you get my point.
And if you have a Netgear router, turn off that Ready Share bullshit.
What is that anyway?
It's enabled automatically, and it's a lot of the reason this VPN filter shit's been going around. And there's a fuckload of vulnerabilities involved too.
Yeah, so you're saying get a real router.
Yeah, or flash like, Asus Merlin to it or something like that.
Yeah, I'm running.
Build
Merlin
your
on mine.
router.
Yeah.
or do open, or pfSense or USG.
USG for life. I went from pfSense to Edge Router to USG. Probably not going to go back.
I have one of those
Upgrade my
24
ass.
port Ubiquity switches. It's loud as shit. It's louder than my computer. It's not fair.
Why do you have a 24 port Ubiquity
I have
switch?
I have one of the PoE switches for cameras that I'm gonna start doing soon.
Oh.
Because
You know-
since
Find a
the
different
software
place
is
for your
free.
Mac.
You know the 8-port ones are fanless, right?
Yeah, I know the 16 port ones are fanless too.
Okay.
And I don't know why I bought the 24 port one.
So start typing on your computer reddit.com/r/homelabsales, list that
yes.
shit, and then get the 16 port.
Yes.
And bang your head on the desk.
Hey, we don't have any questions in Twitch chat, do we? I saw there were some people
Chat.
watching.
Nope, don't say anything.
Okay.
Oh, we got 10 viewers.
Wow. Wow.
No, that wasn't for you. Go lay down.
Did you literally just call your
How
dog
dare-
over?
No, that was his significant other.
That was
Oh.
my girlfriend.
That what?
No questions in the Twitch chat.
Okay. So anyone want to give an rundown of what IPMI is?
I've never used it, so I'm out.
Come on, someone.
The definition:
Um.
intelligent platform management interface is a set of computer interface specifications.
Okay,
or an
basically.
autonomous-
Thanks, Wikipedia.
I'll take this.
All right, nice.
Oh
I
boy.
got more of a basic answer, more idiom, but basically, it lets you access your computer over the network as if you had a monitor and keyboard plugged directly into it, more or less.
Yeah,
So you can see all the BIOS and the boot and everything.
yeah, it's KVM over Ethernet.
That's a better way of putting it. Yeah.
Also, in addition to that, there's some rudimentary BIOS settings you can do in there. Like a lot of time, fan speeds in there, and like fan profiles.
And sometimes not in the BIOS.
There's temperatures, there's sensors, there's like you can see the voltage sensors, CPU temp, Northbridge temp, things like that. A lot of monitoring stuff. There's also power down and reset. So that's super handy if you ever need to just reset it and you are too lazy to go walk downstairs and shut it off. Or if you're remote and you VPN into home, you can access all that too. Yeah, it's never a bad thing to have. It's super easy to set up. It's just you access it through an IP, and I believe the default login is like admin. But you can just
Resetting that password is the biggest pain in the ass ever.
Yeah, it's not the easiest thing.
I mean, I'm considering switching out my FreeNAS server board for one that has IPMI just to have it there. So,
And I have a question regarding that. I'm an Unraid user. I don't use the shutdown component in IPMI because it's not a safe shutdown.
Yeah, it's a well,
I think for me it would be more of being able to get to the BIOS.
I think there's actually
over.
yeah, I mean getting into the BIOS through that is
kind of a huge thing.
yeah. But as far as the shutdown goes, I think there's actually two options. There's the single press where it just sends the shutdown command, and then there's also the hard power off, and then there's the reset. So I think there's three different options.
I just don't know with Unraid if it's a single press power off, does that safely shut down the host OS first? I don't never actually tried it.
I don't know, but I will try that when I get my Unraid system up and running for you.
try it for science duel.
And the other thing,
You should be able to watch the console.
For
on that,
science.
well, the other cool thing you can do with IPMI is, yeah, you can watch the console and figure it out. With IPMI, you can also update the BIOS remotely, and the IPMI is turned on so long as the server is plugged in and the power switch is turned on. So you can access the IPMI even when the server is turned off, and still issue commands like, turn on or, watch the console. So when you get to start up, you want to do stuff in the BIOS.
Never actually messed with IPMI. I need to look into that.
Yeah, any Supermicro motherboard that ends in -F has IPMI, and it has
How do you
IPMI
access
on a
it?
dedicated LAN or dedicated NIC. Excuse me.
Fantastic, because I don't have to drag out my keyboard and mouse and my monitor.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Side note, a lot of people ask about how to control fan speeds on Supermicro boards, and you can do that through the IPMI, but I have run Windows, and there's an IPMI.exe program that also can do it.
Yeah, so if you have IPMI, that's 100% where your fan speed control is. It's in the IPMI. It's not in the BIOS. If you don't have IPMI, it's in the BIOS. So
Yes.
people that are like, I can't change my fan speed, it's because you have IPMI. So you're gonna have to use it to get to the fan speed.
But if you have Windows, there's a program that you can
Right?
do.
Yeah, you can run it locally, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Via command line.
I think there's a Linux variant of that too.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And then in Unraid, there's an IPMI summary plugin that pulls in all those sensors as well. So I don't have to open up the console; it just shows on the Unraid web interface, which is kind of nice.
Oh boy. If you had 10K and you were to start from scratch, how
That
would you set
one.
up your build?
I
Let's
would
assume we just
spend
mean servers.
I would spend
I'd go to
$800
Best Buy.
on a server and buy all the shit I needed in drives, and then I'd put the rest of the money in my checking account.
Yeah, I
You're not
would,
buying
That is a
enough
lot of
8 TB drives.
I would delete
Yeah, that,
all of my users.
specifically.
I would delete all of my users, go to cheap dual 1366 Xeons, and go for like probably two 45 bay Supermicros, spend the rest on drives, and only do like FreeNAS or Unraid. I'd probably do Unraid just to maximize storage.
Yeah.
And I mean, I honestly wouldn't do two things too differently from where I'm at now, because I'm at the point where I haven't made a whole lot of changes in the past 6 months or 8 months or really 10 months. So I'm kind of at the point where I wanted to be, but I could have been at this point for a lot less money 3 years ago. And I guess part of it is spending money over time, but really the money I've been spending has just been downgrading because I don't know. I didn't need 20,000 pass mark. I didn't need I didn't need a FreeNAS server with 8 cores. So I'm only running a dual core in that, but like I could have done things a lot differently, I guess, from the start, and it would have saved me some hassle. But I don't know. Everyone's different, so it's hard to predict that.
In $10,000, like 90% of that would be drive cost. Like you get like, I use this word, but it's probably not appropriate. You get crazy diminishing returns after you spend like $1,000. Like
Oh no,
you don't
it's
get
totally
much,
appropriate.
you don't get much benefit at all.
Yeah.
Whether it's 2K pass mark on top of your 20,000. So I
Right.
feel like under 1,000 is where you should shoot for hardware, and then anything else could be expanded storage or.
I mean,
Something like
you
that.
can get 28 of the 8 terabyte easy stores for under 4,000.
Yeah.
28.
Yeah, for me, that would all go into drives.
24,
That
I
would
mean.
just be straight drives.
Wow.
Yeah, 24 times 160 when they're on sale
Yeah,
is
I think I spent.
$3,840.
I think I bought 12 at 155, and
Mm.
they were the Reds at the time, and they've been serving me pretty well. But goddamn, if I could spend 8K on drives,
Ah, yeah.
I would do
Yeah,
the
you
same
can-
thing, just buy more.
See,
You can
what are the-
easily build a system that's super good for 2K.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the hardware I have now, but honestly, if I were to do it again, I would definitely spend less on the hardware and more on the drives. because now that everything's set up and running, I'm not doing as much with it, and I'm finding that I have all this overhead, not overhead. I have all this extra capacity of like power, like processing power, and I don't use. In Windows, my server is set on power optimized mode, which hard locks it at 1.5 gigahertz, and I'm still not hitting like high CPU usage at all. So like,
And I think that's kind of why we're always like, you don't need to go crazy with your build. What are you actually going to do with it? Because we've all had lots of hardware that we don't actually need.
And upgrading CPUs is easy if you have the right socket motherboard.
yeah, and downgrading CPUs is expensive because you always lose money when you buy a more expensive CPU and you have to go sell it again. I mean, I guess you do when you sell a lower tier processor. I mean, you lose money there too, but you just lose a lot less. I mean, like I started on dual $300 processors. They were $300 each, and when I went to sell them, I only sold them for $200 each. That's a $200 loss on top of the power that I paid for them. Um, yeah, and I guess that's kind of a testament to how good the hardware is. Because if we're all over specking our servers, and we're kind of surprised at how well it performs, if if I'm downgrading a lot and the other people are downgrading, it shows you how good the hardware is even today.
And that leads into the V1 versus V2 2011 socket. If your upload speed for internet isn't good, it's not going to benefit you.
Yeah, and weighing, like, part of that argument is like power costs. So like 2630L V2 versus 2630L V1. They're about the same performance. The V2 might be 30% more power efficient. But if it's double the price, are you going to spend? It's like, how long is it going to take you to make that money up? It
Yeah,
might take you 2 years or 3 years in power costs.
exactly.
So, do you
And it's
plan
over
on having
double
the
the
server for
cost.
that long? Yeah, or something like just for example. So
Oh, yeah.
it's just something to consider. There's a lot of factors.
Hmm.
But as far as answering the question, I'd spend less on hardware and more on drives, for sure.
I love seeing the posts where they spent like $1,000 on the server and it's run of the mill parts, and then they see like there is another 24 base super micro build and he spent like $4,000 on drives to fill it up. Like that's where all your cost is going to come from.
Yeah, I mean, my next purchase is going to be 8 terabyte drives.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the most I've spent on any sort of server hardware.
Baller.
That's pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, I like seeing posts on r/home lab. They're like, check out my new server. I got like, E5 V4s and 128 gig of RAM. And I'm like, you could have done the same thing with V1s and DDR3. And
Yes.
And then
Street.
for storage,
You
he's like,
don't.
check out my new media server. I got like 16 terabytes of storage. I'm like, dog, you- you're putting your money into the wrong spot here. Like,
Yeah.
that's a no for me, dog.
It's just
a
a
hard
different
no.
world people don't understand a lot of times.
Yeah. So that I think we sufficiently answered that question.
Yep. How
Um,
about the small form factor?
are you skipping the older server hardware in gaming?
Oh, I thought we got that. Never
Kind of
mind.
We
didn't
did
we
talk
already
about it.
cover that a little
Yeah,
bit?
we already kind of talked about that one.
I do have something I want to say.
Okay.
I've got a video that I've been talking about for a long time, and it's the cheap gaming build.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
actually working on finishing it now because I decided what I wanted to do with it.
Oh boy.
It's definitely feasible to game on older server hardware. Clock speed definitely helps. So there are some Xeons that are clock speed oriented, and there are some Xeons that are core count oriented. And
Can confirm.
There are some that are both, but they're really expensive. So you can get like an 8 core that turbos at like 3.6 or 3.8, but it's usually like $200 or $300. So you're not going to see a huge improvement regarding gaming with that, as you might with a quad core that turbos to 3.5 or 3.6. And that's basically an i7 equivalent. So they do make those. So just kind of keep an eye out what you're looking for. A lot of time, a good compromise is like a 6 core with 3.5 turbo, like what Manbear has.
Yep.
And they're not usually what are they, $110 or
I think it was 145 shipped.
for a pair?
Yeah.
Oh wow, I was thinking that was like the price each. So
Nope.
yeah, so $70 for one of those. And it really depends. Like we talked about this earlier, but I think if you're going to go to higher frame rates, you're going to definitely want to stay more consumer side than server side. But if you're going to be doing a home theater PC and you're going to be doing a lot of couch gaming, or you're hugely into single player games like Skyrim or The Witcher or anything like that, you can game on Xeons just fine. And just kind of pick your processor accordingly. You're not going to really see any detriment from like going DDR3 versus DDR4. That's not going to matter. Things like that, it just doesn't matter. Pick a good video card. Pick the right processor. You'll be fine. But yeah, look for that video when I hopefully come out with it this weekend. I show off a quad core Xeon with hyper-threading and a $50 video card and what it can do at 1080p with medium to ultra settings. Huh?
What Xeon was it?
It's the X3470.
Well,
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. And I've got a frame counter in the top left for all of the clips, and I go over a bunch of different games and stuff. So
Yeah,
that should be pretty
I
fun.
Even that's 5K pass mark with 3.6 gigahertz turbo.
Yeah, and that's $25.
and how much? Yeah, I was about to say that's a cheap one, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you were talking about that, I was like, I may build a guest gaming PC.
Oh yeah, it's super great. I had when we had the LAN party, I had 2 of those systems running, and I had
Nice.
1063
from those-
gigs.
From those combo boards you bought.
Yeah, yeah. So I had 1063 gigs in each one, and everyone's playing PUBG and like Realm Royale. Everyone's had a great time. No one complained about it, and they're like, "Man, these computers are so awesome." I'm like, dirty secret, like they're pretty. I mean, like the video card was more expensive than the rest of the PC combined.
It's just
Right.
some crap I scraped together off the table.
I literally drove by a
Basically.
dumpster and picked up these parts, and
I mean, that's how JDM does it.
But yeah,
Because he's going to post his build, and it's going to double in price.
And I have that. It's just running Unraid for NAS storage.
yeah. So, yeah. Long story short, depends on what you buy. But the biggest things are pick the right CPU and pick the right GPU.
If you have any questions, ask first.
Oh yeah, yeah. Ask me in
And build
Discord,
outside
we'll
the
help you.
case.
Also, yes.
Rule
Please
one:
build outside.
put your country in your name and build outside the case.
Yeah.
That should just be part of Rule 1 at this
Rule
point.
0 should be built outside the case.
Yes.
All right. So
Only
let's-
if you're doing an actual build, though. If you get a pre-built, don't take all the fucking parts out of the build. Put it all together, and then.
Okay,
hey,
good
turn it
point.
small form factor server parts.
Mm,
I don't like this answer, and I feel like it's the answer I have to give all the time. Find more space for your server. Go for ATX. You can build a relatively small ATX. Anyone can fit an ATX tower somewhere, I promise you. and ATX.
Yeah,
yeah.
they're just mid towers.
You can get a small ATX mid tower. The N400 is the one I would recommend. It's not very large. It's pretty small actually.
Can confirm.
And the thing with the micro ATX, a lot of time they're cube cases, so they're like kind of like, yeah, they're shorter, but they're way wider, and
I have a Corsair
less drive
250.
space.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just
I know
shifting
about
the
that.
space around. You're just shifting it to a different form.
and honestly, the only cube case that I even think is worth anyone's time is the Fractal Node 804, which can hold 10
Yeah.
drives.
That one is good.
The thing's like a foot wide.
It's great. It's a great case, but
big
it's
cube.
a big cube. So like,
Yeah.
you're not
It's
gonna
an
put-
ottoman. It's an ottoman for a living room, is what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
So
It's a
Organization.
footstool.
Yeah.
I know it's not the answer a lot of people want to hear, but there's not a whole lot of offerings for micro ATX server boards that, especially that use DDR3 ECC. For regular DDR3, then you're looking at like desktop socket equivalent Xeons, and you're limited to like 4 cores anyway. You're not going to get the 6 or 8 core or the dual socket. I mean, you can get dual socket 2011 in ATX even, which is awesome. But it's just, I mean, like for example, I have a micro ATX socket 2011 X79 board. Great board, can overclock. You know, it's a gaming board or whatever, but it was more expensive. And you can't use
What-
ECC memory with it. You have to use regular DDR3.
What model is that board? Do you remember?
It's Asus. I think it's like Rampage Gene 4. Let me look it up.
One thing I'll bring up too is
That's why I asked, because I was just
with-
gonna Google it so it's on the stream.
Yeah.
with consumer parts, usually the smaller form factor you go, the price drastically increases.
Oh God, yeah.
So that's another thing to think of too, is you can, if your budget is tight because you only have $500, you're going to spend more money on a board that's a better form factor and have less money for everything else.
Yeah, I mean, I went with that board for a particular reason. It's got like optical audio, it's got USB 3, it's got a bunch of different cool things on it, but I mean, was it really worth it? No. I mean, it's my home theater PC, so that's kind of why I bought it, but
Oh,
It
yeah,
had it had stuff built in that you wanted, so
yeah, I wouldn't recommend it for a server. And plus you're losing out on PCI Express slots, which
Oh, yeah.
super
I have a
important.
my desktop is a mini ITX board. It has one PCI Express slot and 2 slots for RAM. It's like what else can I do?
Yeah, you can't
It's
have
like, okay.
you can't do a capture card or anything if you wanted to. I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
have
you better hope
6
it's got all you need.
PCIEs and 24 DIMMs.
well, and part of like, okay, if you have on a larger scale thinking about things, if you have a limited amount of space, you want to make the best use of that space possible, right? So
For sure.
like I'm talking like apartment space. Like you
Yeah.
have a studio apartment and you're gonna put a server in there. I think hands down a standard ATX server would be a way better use of your space than a micro ATX server.
Yep.
You'll be able to
'Cause-
do way more with it. You won't have to upgrade the case. You won't have to.
And you can fit more drives.
Oh yeah, you can fit to way more drives for a lot less money too. Like the N400 is what, $40 on sale right now, and you can fit
Yeah.
8 to 10 drives in it, where the Node 804 is like 115 normally.
Yeah, N400 has 8 drive slots, plus there's 3, I think 3.
I think it's 2.
It might
When
be
you have
2.
a,
Oh, I
you
was
have a
thinking-
video on that case specifically, don't you?
I don't know.
That was one of your first ones, wasn't it?
No, not that case.
Oh, the N400 was yeah, that was
Yeah.
the live stream build.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But
Yeah, it's for sure 8 3.5-inch slots, and then 2 5 1/4.
and however many SSDs you want to cram in there. I mean, it's a great case. Oh yeah, and
Yeah,
then I'm using
You can throw SSDs anywhere.
yeah, I'm using one for my gaming computer right now, and it's got 1080 Ti SLI in it, and it's great. I mean, it's a completely adequate case, but it's just not very big. So yeah, I don't know. I would sit down and like seriously think about what you want to do if you want to save space. I get it if you're on a really if your budget for space is not a whole lot. Like I don't know, maybe maybe consider getting a server is not the thing that you need to do until you get more
They-
room.
Two
Yeah, guys.
gamers, one CPU.
What's up?
Huh?
I said, what's
Yeah.
up?
Oh,
Yeah, Newegg has the N400 for $40 after mail-in rebate and $6 shipping.
How much is the Node 804?
The what?
The Fractal Node 804?
Oh, no, it's a 304. That's what it is.
No, the 804 is the micro ATX one. The 304 is the ITX one.
God damn it.
Okay.
Quick question.
What's up?
Why is ECC memory RAM like so important? Is it really a must?
Good question.
It's a good question. Yeah.
It's not a must, but it is objectively better than not having it. Also, have you looked at the price of used ECC RAM versus regular DDR3?
Yeah, it's probably like nothing.
Well, it's way cheaper.
Right. Yeah, it sure is. But going out of your way to get a motherboard that actually supports it,
But almost all of the server motherboards support it. Like all of
that's
the
right.
builds we do, they all support it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's not
Yeah,
even
I
an
get
issue.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm new, so I don't know shit.
No, it's
so
okay.
I just come up here asking random
Hey
questions.
man, ask away. Where I'm not like trying to shame you for not knowing.
No, I get you. I'm not shamed. Not yet. No,
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
You're already in the
Yeah.
top 10% for asking the question. Some people just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
And if
Yeah,
we
but
do
I'm-
shame you, it's because
No,
You
we
love
just
it,
do
right?
that.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I'm new into the game. I saw this one thread, joined the server, came on here with nothing, still at nothing. Not just kidding, and just rocking with the with old tech. Yeah, man.
What thread did you see that caused you to join?
I looked at a low power NAS, and there was this one guy who said, "Yo, if you want to watch a Discord where guys try to use cheap ass old server shit, go here." I was like, "All right, I got you."
We gotta figure out who the fuck this is.
NAS killer.
I'm not sure who the fuck it was, but yeah.
I get tags on Reddit all the time. Like, hey, check out this guy's subreddit. He knows what he's talking about. Like, oh, thanks. And then like, I see like people just pile in the Discord. Like 60 people join in a day or something. It's nuts.
Yeah, but like 4 days ago, I decided I want to build a server because I am retarded. So
Me
yeah,
too. Thanks.
so that's why. I
Oh,
started looking
hey,
at
I'm
it.
retarded too.
Exclamation
wait,
exclamation
dude,
pre-built.
Yeah. Have you used the build command at all?
What, me?
Yeah, in Discord.
What build command?
Just type exclamation point build, and it should list all the different build threads that we've made.
Oh, fuck me. Oh, yeah, that. Yeah, I've seen this.
Here, it's in the hardware right now. There you
You
go.
just
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen
Oh, fuck me.
it's a lot to
Yeah,
read.
I've
I
seen,
know.
I've
but-
seen this stuff. I've seen this stuff. I looked at some stuff, and I was like, all right, this is pretty good. But yeah,
Oh, side
don't-
note, that
don't-
Node 804 is $110 on Newegg.
Yeah, sweet. But yeah, I'm a cheapskate. Although I make enough money, I'm a student, so you got to stay on that cheap shit. You know how it is, and
Oh,
your
God,
boys
yeah.
on that good stuff.
Hey, just
We're
because you
all
make
cheap
money
skates.
doesn't mean that you can't like take time to spend it the right way. You know,
What do you mean?
like
Repeat.
if
I
you
wasn't
make
listening.
a good amount of money,
Yeah.
you still want to spend the money the right way. You don't need to
Hell yeah.
overspend. You know, the rich
Hell
don't
yeah,
get
you wanna-
rich
you wanna-
by
you
spending
wanna
money.
keep that stuff in the bank. Yeah, hell yeah. You want to spend as little as possible, and I don't want to sound as Trump, but that's what you got to do to keep some money in the bank.
Well, that's why
So-
people who have money because they don't spend more
Hell
than
yeah.
they need to.
Yeah, so I'm not on that new stuff, but I'm hella on that good stuff. So
That don't,
yeah,
because
okay.
JDM just spends all my money.
I think that should be the saying for this server, the slogan.
Just let JDM spend your money for you.
No, what? No, what I asked for.
Yes, that one.
Hell yeah.
That's what happens.
What did
Yeah.
he say? I'm not on that new shit. I'm
I'm
on
not
that
on
good
that
shit.
new shit. I'm on that good shit. So
Yeah, there you go.
as little as possible. You
I mean,
know?
to be fair, I did get a couple people
be
to buy an
fair.
To be
AR-15.
fair.
I got a couple people to buy an
To be
AR-15 they
fair.
totally did not need to buy.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw
Just
this
the other
one
day.
guy who built like an i5. I'm not sure who I was talking. I thought it was you, Man Bear Pig. I
Oh
was saying
God,
like,
no.
yo. I was saying like, yo, you guys ain't worried about that electricity bill? And that this one guy
Oh.
said, oh, it's just 20 a month. I'm like, dude, are you kidding me? 20 a month? Like, I don't
Oh,
even pay
20
my
a year.
electricity bill. But like, damn,
Yeah, I mean,
that's a lot of money. You know what I mean?
yeah, there's
I-
things
I
to
still live
consider,
it
but
up.
like, you know, any server's gonna take power.
Yeah,
any,
hell yeah, it's
any
gonna
server's
take power.
gonna, you know, it doesn't matter what it is, it's gonna take power. Yeah,
Yeah,
things
yeah,
take less or
it's
whatever.
gonna
but,
draw anyways. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
If
So
it-
my
if it-
friend and I, yeah, you go ahead. Yeah,
Oh, if it was me saying that, saying
Yeah.
20 a month, that's because I'm mining with GPUs.
oh yeah, explains. Yeah, I don't mind because
That's most of the
Yeah.
electricity.
oh yeah, I get you.
Hey, going
Yeah,
back to the you had an ECC question. We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier.
Oh, yeah.
But, you know,
yeah,
the,
go
the
ahead.
ECC thing. You know, standard memory doesn't have any type of error correction, and there's no, like JDM says, there's no way to know when you have memory errors.
Right.
So ECC just kind of prevents that. You know, you'll be able to keep your system up for longer.
Yeah, but if you get a memory error,
it's-
like what's gonna happen?
So the error correction takes care of that. It calculates what it should be, and it looks at it and says, "Hold on, that
Right.
bit's not right," and it flips it to what it should be. 'Cause
Right,
you do
but
have
what's gonna
instances
happen if
where
you
there's-
get an error?
Eh,
You're-
a wide range of
if you
things can
don't-
happen.
Yeah. If
Yeah,
you, and
what's
you
gonna
probably if
happen?
you've used any Windows computer that's been up for more than like a day or two,
Yeah.
you know sometimes it gets a little weird. Your programs might not start, or you have this one thing that just like it's acting funny, or you can't click on the start menu, or you know just random things. 'Cause,
Right.
You know the memory addresses, or there's so many. Any
Oh,
random thing
just
could happen.
just like random shit where you have to like reset your computer to
Yeah,
fix it.
you have to restart, and then everything's good.
Right. All right. Yeah, I got you.
But like my
what
servers,
OS you
I don't
guys using?
restart. I have Windows servers, and I
Yeah.
don't restart them unless I accidentally kick the power cord and I unplug it, or
Nice.
the power goes out, or
Damn it, Kitty!
yeah. I mean, I don't restart them for the sake of restarting them because
Yeah,
I
but
don't need
you guys ain't on the Linux stuff, or no?
to. I
Yeah,
virtualize
a lot of
them.
us do Linux.
Like or Exponology? Like what's up? You guys on that stuff?
Exponology is okay. I haven't used it yet, but I know it exists and it's all right. But we use mostly Unraid, FreeNAS, Windows. Some of us use
Yeah,
various
FreeNAS
ones.
I've heard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was me and my friend are making one, and we're total noobs. So I joined this one, and he's just leeching information off me, and yeah,
So if
I
you're
wanted
new,
yeah.
don't use FreeNAS. Use Unraid.
yes,
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah,
100%.
Unraid's probably your best bet there.
right.
Yes, you have to pay for it, but it's worth
Well,
it.
You pay
Yeah,
for the
I get it.
license, but there's the less upfront cost with drives. You don't need to
Right.
buy 4 8 terabytes off the bat. You can buy 2, and then add
Yeah.
1 drive to it as you get the money for it. Where
Yeah,
you
I
need
get you.
space.
The Unraid,
Right.
yeah, you can use different size drives. They don't have to be all the same size
Right.
like FreeNAS.
And is it an OS?
Yeah, it's just
Yes.
like
Unraid?
Free,
Yeah.
it's like FreeNAS, but it's the opposite side of the same coin as FreeNAS, basically.
All right, so it's better.
No,
Right, I got you.
it's,
It's
not,
not
better.
better.
It's not better.
It's
It
the right
has
tool for
its-
the job.
They're just
Exactly.
different.
They're
Right,
they're
oh, I
different.
got you.
Like I said, they're two sides of the same coin. They're the
Yeah.
same type of OS where they install onto a USB stick and they boot off of a USB stick. They're both
Right.
NAS oriented. They're storage oriented operating systems.
Yeah.
But the way that they manage storage is really, really different. And
Right.
Unraid is much more new user friendly and long term. Like if you want to expand gradually as you go.
Yeah.
Where
Like,
FreeNAS, you buy
yeah.
all of your drives at the same time, and
Right.
then that's it. You don't constantly upgrade. When you upgrade, you
Yeah.
have to upgrade at like
Everything.
all of it at the same time. Again,
Yeah, fuck
it's different.
me. Yeah. So it handles data differently, but like a drive is a drive. Like what's up? Is it not like on my computer where I just
A drive is a
Flops
drive, but how that data is organized and how it's protected is different depending
Right.
on how what system
Oh,
you go
right.
with.
Yeah, but the
Right,
drive you're using in your computer right now is not. There's no parity on that drive. There's no backup. So if you lose that drive, you lose your
Yeah.
data. Whereas on Unraid or FreeNAS, there's parity data on other drives in that array that can rebuild that drive. If a drive dies, you pull it out, put a new one in, and hit rebuild, and then you don't lose any of your data.
Right. So I'm a retard, so I'm gonna have to explain this in my language. So I got one glass of water,
Yeah.
and that's my drive, right?
Yeah.
And the water is my files. What you're saying is, you got this on-raid thing.
Uh-huh.
Basically, you get 3 more glasses of nothing, and you just split it. You just like divide
Yes. So my answer to that analogy would be you have one glass. You currently have one glass and it's full of water. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And
yeah.
in an unraid system, you would have 3 glasses, for example, and you would have
Right.
1 glass's worth of water in all of them.
Right.
Okay. If you knock 1 glass over, you can refill that 1 glass to the same level as the other 3 because you know what the level it's at.
Yeah.
So, whereas you're like, okay, then you rebuild it, you refill it back to that level. And you're like, okay, that's
Right.
we're good. I'm back to 1
Yeah.
glass's worth of water. But
Right.
if you have an arbitrary amount of liquid in your single glass that you're in now, you can never get that same amount back. I mean, obviously, like there's more nuance to it than that, but you get what I'm
Right.
trying to say.
So, wait, one more time. I got 1 glass of water. And what you're saying is I got a ghost glass, and that just copies the water off it.
I think of it here.
This is
You
not
have
an,
right?
this analogy is
Water
not
is
easy
bad.
to make
You
work.
should
You have-
not put
you
water
have
in
a-
your
guys,
computer.
just saying, it's 3 a.m. here. I'm retarded.
It's
Go ahead.
okay.
Think of it like this. So you have a box, and in that box, the box is your OS.
Right.
And in that box, you have
Schrodinger's cat.
yes, you have 2 cups.
Right.
But one of the cups is a direct copy of the first cup.
Yeah.
That's how Unraid does its protection. It puts all of its
Right, yeah.
protection on one disk.
Both
Yeah.
FreeNAS and Unraid require multiple drives
Yes.
to
Right.
work,
So-
basically.
So basically, I get an Unraid, maybe
But-
1 terabyte drives, and shit's just gonna work. And if I want to keep expanding, I
Yeah, you
just put
just
another drive in there. Shit's gonna
Just
work.
Keep going.
Yep, you just keep
I-
going.
That's pretty good stuff right there.
Where at FreeNAS, you
The,
can't do that. You'd have to get like 8 1 terabytes at one time, and then
It's like
That's how it
dual
works.
channel. It's like dual channel RAM. It won't work with the other one. It
mm,
needs like in pairs.
no.
I'm saying some
It's-
dumb shit again. Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's just that
Don't worry
FreeNAS
about it,
wasn't
yeah.
FreeNAS wasn't designed to be expandable. You set it up.
Yeah, yeah.
and that's how it's set up. That's it. You
And
don't
if you
just
want to,
expand it.
expand, you have to set it up again, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Are you
Exactly.
familiar with what striping is in general?
Hell no.
So, like if you copy a file to a FreeNAS server, it
Right.
copies to all the disk at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I thought. How RAID worked. That's how I thought it.
That is, yeah, and
That's how
that
I
is how
imagined it.
RAID
And that's
works.
that's
yeah.
why the other products that we're talking about is called Unraid. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
technically RAID.
Can I stop everybody right now, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, what up?
Unraid. Okay. You write it. It can be on several disks. If one fails, if you have a parity disk, which has to be the largest one.
I put a picture in a live stream too of what an unraid parity array looks like.
If you have a parity disk and one disk fails, you can swap it out, rebuild. But if by chance that parity disk also fails, every other disk that hasn't failed is still readable. So all the data on it is still readable.
All right, cool.
That's why it's called Unraid. It's not normal RAID.
All right,
That's
that's some
good.
good shit.
It's way different than normal RAID.
All right, that's good stuff. Well, like, what are the chances though of drives failing? Because I'm talking out of my experience. I got like since I was 12, I had this one drive, and this bitch still running in my PC. And I'm not kidding. I upgraded my PC recently to i5s. You know, good stuff. DDR4, just my gaming PC, and it's still in there, still running. Still hogging, still going hard at it.
You should probably check the drive health before you say that it's
Do
not,
it, yeah.
not failed.
Do a smart
All right,
test.
right. Let me check.
Use,
But
crystal
that's the
disk.
age-old question, though.
Drive health.
No,
Nah, my girl running good. Let me check drive health. Let me download it.
No, it just use
chime in?
crystal disk info.
Yes.
Crystal,
Weeaboo edition.
Yes.
Weeaboo edition.
Crystal
Gotta get those anime.
disk info.
God damn it.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So
Crystal disk.
from
No,
a
my
new
girl
user
good. Yeah.
So from a new user standpoint, like walking into Unraid, you know, like yourself, you'd be using it like for the first time. I
Yeah.
installed Unraid probably 2 weeks ago.
Wait, you started 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, I have my little Plex server right next to me,
Yeah.
and I was just using Linux to run it, and this is when I
Yeah.
met all these guys, and they're like, "Oh no, use Unraid," you know, and I have a bunch of like piece of shit 500 gig hard drives.
Oh
you know,
yeah,
from,
yeah.
like,
You're my guy. Yeah.
that are like still viable, but I just ordered some drives to replace them. I threw
Yeah.
them into Unraid, and they work just fine.
Oh yeah, I got the Wii. I get what you guys said about the Weeaboo stuff right now. I get it. Yeah.
I've been using Unraid for about a year, and it's probably the easiest.
I use FreeNAS, but I wish I had started with Unraid for sure.
Right. I got the C. I got.
Unraid's
the D,
just
I got the
so
H.
easy.
All right, boys. Let me check the health on this bitch.
Should give you a percentage.
It's easier than my
Let
ex-girlfriend.
let me check which one it is.
Anyway,
'Cause I got
while you're checking
multiples.
that, I want to move on to the next question because I don't want to.
That's what I was just gonna say.
too long.
Right.
Uh,
G. It's wait. I got the percentage right here. It's a fuck. It's pretty good. It's 93%. That
you
bitch
sure
ain't
it's the
bad.
right drive?
Yeah. I got 3 drives, and they're both old as fuck.
What's the
Two
lowest
of
one?
them. The lowest is a. Let me check.
What was
Um,
that program again?
The one that I'm.
Crystal disk info. On,
No, I
for
got two.
Windows.
I got two USB drives in there. One of them is 35. The other one is 75. And then my
35?
drives. Oh, wait.
Bro, you
Yeah,
better
but
get the
that's a
data
USB
off of that.
stick, bro. That's a USB stick. No, I don't care. No, that's a USB stick. But what is worrying? I
Oh,
got this
wow.
one drive I bought recently, used. It's my boot drive right now. That one is running on 16%. And trust me, I'm running Windows 10 on it right now, and my bit's
So
still
we're
going
gonna see you
strong.
drop off here any second, really.
Nah, you're not.
So you're gonna say,
Nah, you're
JDM, I
not.
don't feel so good,
Nice one.
and then you're gonna
No.
static off.
I'm in danger.
Nah, it's a 1 terabyte WD Black, WD Black. It's still going strong. Y'all niggas just saying that. Oh wait, I'm not sure if I can say that.
Yeah,
Y'all boys just saying that to get at me. Nah, 16%. Nah.
We're a bunch
Still
of
good.
assholes.
He's still good. Trust me, he's still good. No,
The
I'm
problem
I'm
with those numbers is you have no idea how long a drive is going to last.
yeah.
No, I'm gonna replace it anyways. It's just a 1 ter. I'm not even sure why I run my OS on a hard drive anymore instead of a solid state drive, but it boots like in 8 seconds, so it's still going strong as fuck. You feel me?
Yeah, just because it boots fast doesn't mean that the drive's in good health.
Yeah, it's probably gonna die real soon. Yeah,
it's gonna die a horrible death, and you're gonna be real upset.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Hope
Yeah,
you don't care
got that
about those
right.
bits.
Anyway,
Nah.
we got a few more questions to get through.
Yeah, go ahead.
Benefits of Xeons versus i7s.
I don't think there's any inherent benefits. I mean, there are some inherent benefits, but honestly, they're based on the same architecture. So
Yeah. Do you need an i7 though for like servers? Like, what are you doing then?
We kind of talked about this. It's really just a value proposition, because you're getting them used.
Well,
Yeah,
that and
because-
the core count potential on Xeons is much, much higher. And the fact that you can run 2 of them is even more ridiculous.
And we did talk about it earlier that the original Xeon architecture is basically the new i7s.
Yeah,
Right.
usually.
Yeah, they
usually.
they lead with that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus, I think overall build quality. I mean, it's server level hardware.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're meant to run 24/7.
And
Really, if you want the best, get a Core i9 Extreme
No.
Edition.
Yeah,
That's really
yeah.
your best value. Let's be
Fuck
honest.
AMD Ryzen though, AMD Ryzen, still going strong.
What about the
TDP
Xeon
boys.
Platinum?
well, anyway,
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
does anybody have an Itanium processor?
Titanium.
Anybody remember
oh
those?
god,
Unobtainium?
no,
No, that's
I do
before
remember
now.
them.
That's before my time.
Weren't they pretty ass even for the time?
Oh, they were terrible. They had their it was its own, it was Intel's take on 64-bit, and it was not based on x86, so the whole OS had to be rewritten. to
Oh,
run on it.
Jesus.
Well, and
That's pretty
the
good.
other thing about Xeons that we actually relates back to the first question, most Xeons don't have integrated GPU, for example, so they strip out the features that consumers won't need and add features that they probably also wouldn't need. Or wait, no, I'm sorry. They strip out features that consumer processors have that you don't need in a server, and then they add in features that you would need. So the fact that you're able to get Xeons for even less than consumer, and you're getting more performance and more cores and better RAM support, and it's just that's the reason we
Yeah,
go for
these
that.
things aren't made for. They're not made for people. They're made for businesses that have
Yeah.
huge workloads.
Yes.
Huge loads. I got you. I'm not sure. Yeah,
That's what
I know
your
you
mom
guys still
said.
do- Hell yeah. I know you guys still doing questions. I got this one thing. You might want to. It's in my country, but check it out. Is this value for money, or is this money for value? Like, what's up?
Where the fuck did Shorzy come from?
What is it?
It's like a motherboard with an onboard CPU with a pass mark of 2K300. It's got some SATA ports on it, PCI
It's pretty-
Express. I mean, it's a mini, but
I mean,
Like,
you
for
can use
what
that
garbage
to
you
like
use for?
control the lights in your house.
oh, you scum.
It's not that good.
All right,
Especially for
good.
that money.
Just
Yeah.
What did you
get
say?
a Raspberry Pi.
Yeah, as I was about to say, is you describing a Raspberry Pi?
Raspberry Pi would probably be faster.
Yeah, you guys roasting this board. Well, it's not my board. It's a board my friend bought. He wants to.
I mean, if it's an Ace Rock board, it'll probably roast itself.
Dirty,
Pass mark
dirty.
of 2300.
Yeah, he wants to do Plex on like one device. It's not going to be more than one device. Sometimes his
And then-
computer, sometimes his phone, sometimes his TV. Just the standard 1080. And he sometimes wants to use it as a NAS and maybe get a BitTorrent client on there. But that's it. Is that
Yeah,
doable?
he's gonna have a bad time.
Think that he'll be able to do Plex and a BitTorrent client at the same time. This will probably be able to handle a BitTorrent client and files.
Right. So he's fucked on the Plex.
No, I mean he could try.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
if he's already
might be
got
able to
it,
get
like I'm not
8
gonna tell him
going.
to sell it, but
No, he's gonna try. But I'm just curious. He hasn't set it the whole thing up yet, but it's gonna come in real quick, and he's gonna try. But I'm just curious. I got one. I got a
wouldn't
shit
buy
one as
one.
well. I bought one. It has almost a 3K pass mark with a TDP of like 35.
that's a lot of TDP for 3K passmark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what
What
he posted, that
like
board
35.
CPU combo, that's $101. I could build something better than that.
Well, but don't forget that's EU as well. There's
Yeah, there are parts of it
conversion.
there is pretty
yeah.
pretty rough.
Yeah, we got it rough here, but But wait, 35 TDP for 3K pass mark is bad. Like, what's up? I thought that was good.
I mean, my laptop has 45 TDP and it's 13K pass mark.
Yeah, but that's laptop stuff. You can't.
Doesn't matter. It's the same.
But you
It's the
can't
same
put RAID.
architecture.
You can't put SATAs on it, can you? You can't expand it.
That's not determining the pass or of the TDP. The TDP is just for the processor.
Yeah.
TDP is thermal design power, and it has nothing to
Right.
do with the power draw of the wall, and it only has to
Right.
do with the heat output of the processor.
Right.
Okay, so the things that you're saying
Right.
about SATA is irrelevant to the conversation.
All right. So I'm retarded. All
No,
right.
I didn't say you're retarded. I just say it's not relevant.
That's what you're saying.
Okay, if that's what you want to
No,
take
I'm just
it as.
Wait, but how do you like calculate the total power draw of power?
You use a power meter, you plug it in the wall, and then you
Wait,
plug
that's
in
the
your.
only way?
Yes.
Ah, fuck me.
It also depends what you're running. If it's 100% CPU usage,
Yeah, but like, what's this drive gonna draw? Should I just check the CPU benchmark.net, see how much it's gonna draw of the wall?
it's
Is
probably
that-
going to be like 5 to 10 watts.
It's not going to be a whole. I'm not saying that this thing draws a lot of power. I'm just saying
Oh,
it puts
yeah,
out a lot of
right.
heat for the amount of pass mark that it has.
Oh yeah. Oh, all right. You had me on a whole nother level. I was thinking the
It's probably pretty
like
low
I
power.
said-
I'm not.
like
I'm
I
not.
said,
Yeah,
I'm
but
retarded, so I thought total TDP meant total draw of power.
no, it's
Nope.
I'm not sure.
thermal design power.
I'm
The heat,
all right. I'm
the heat
retarded.
measured in
Yeah.
watts. Watts is not
Yeah.
just a electricity measurement.
Yeah, but this is gonna draw like nothing out of the wall, basically.
So I benchmarked my drives a couple
What?
weeks ago. I benchmarked the power draw on my PC and my drives a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, yeah.
From my general feel for my 3 SSDs I have, they typically pull anywhere from half a watt to a watt.
Yeah,
And
that's pretty good.
hard drives pull anywhere from 10 watts to as little as 3 watts, and that's just sitting at idle.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
So,
What about the CPU? What about the motherboard? What about the, if you got other stuff going on, like what's up with that?
That
It's hard to
completely
estimate
depends.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not really something you can estimate. The easiest way to do it, like JDM says, is to run a kilowatt in the wall and measure it in real time.
Right, but can you go off the CPU benchmarks? They got a calculator on how much electricity it's going to cost. Can I go off that? Like,
Yeah, you could
what's
go
an
off.
action?
You could go
Yeah.
off of real tests that people do to see how much power it's going to draw, but
all right,
don't
So
don't,
it's
don't
all
there's
right,
no
yeah.
specification for power draw.
it's not. Yeah, yeah. It's not
what I mean?
all too accurate, but it's somewhere in there. Right. Okay. Good stuff.
It's like a car. Not every
And-
car's going to get the same gas mileage.
Yeah.
Alright.
And you can't
Yeah.
just look at the TDP of the processors.
Hey man,
Right.
I really got to get through these questions. I'm gonna
Yeah, yeah.
I
I got
know.
you.
I'm gonna
Go
I'm
ahead.
gonna kick you out.
I got you.
Mod abuse.
We'll bring you in for the next one, all right?
I got you. Go ahead.
All right. So we did benefit of Xeons versus i7, and quick run over which old CPUs are still viable. What's your hard limit? As far back as you guys go.
Yeah, I don't know who asked that question, but before the, what is it, 36XX? Not really worth it.
X3470 is pretty much as far back as I'd go, or X3430, like whatever gen that is, and what is that,
Yeah.
1156 socket.
I think so.
But even then,
Looking
that's a desktop socket, and for server sockets, I won't go past 1366. So in order, it's 1366, then 1356, 2011, and 2011.3, and I think there's a newer one out now, but I won't go lower than 1356 because there's some really, really bad processors even in 1356. Like the
Yeah.
E5500 series is like, they're really bad. But I mean, you have some good ones too, like the L5640, X5670. Those are fine. But even then, they're kind of getting long in the tooth. But the reason they're recommended so much is just because they support modern standards like PCI Express, things like that, DDR3. If you go too much,
Cheap as fuck.
yeah, they're really cheap, which is part of it. But if you go before that, you're even kind of in the realm of DDR2. And
Yes.
yeah, forget all that noise. You're just not saving any money. Anyone want to answer the best GPU for 4K gaming or streaming?
I can answer half of that.
560 Ti.
I mean, for streaming, it's going to be, I would say 1030 for 4K capture.
I don't understand how streaming is being used here in the context. What does it mean?
I don't know. It was just a question that was asked.
I was thinking capture. Maybe I've got it wrong, but
If you're going to do a home theater PC, the cheapest way to get 4K 60 FPS output is a GT 1030.
Yes.
what I said.
Yep. As far as streaming, are you streaming 4K to this device, like through Plex, or are you streaming to Twitch? I don't know what that means, but NVENC, the NVIDIA streaming codec processor thing, is the same on all 9 series and 10 series cards. So it doesn't matter which 9 series or 10 series card you get. They're all the same. And for the most part, all of the 9 series has HDMI 2.0, and I know that all of the 10 series has HDMI 2.0. So any of those should be fine for 4K playback. 4K gaming, probably want the best card you can afford. The best card is the best card that you can afford. So, does anyone here game on 4K?
I do sometimes with Rocket League
Yeah,
on a 1060 4K 60 hertz.
and it works okay, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, perfectly. I just prefer the 1080p 120 hertz.
Eagle, do you game in 4K? Somebody games in 4K. I don't know who.
Was that? Is it Zettabyte? Maybe.
Oh yeah, it's one of the PUBG guys games in 4K, and I'm still not sure why.
Yeah, he has the 4K monitor. He doesn't have he has a 290.
Oh
So
god.
he has
Oh
trouble.
Jesus!
he's pushing that card a little bit, maybe too hard. But,
Oh, way too hard.
So
but I think, like you said, he's in the market for what he can afford, like the best card.
yeah, because if you have a monitor, realistically, that's nicer than your video card, then you're probably gonna just want to buy the best video card you can afford. And it really depends on what kind of game settings you want to run too. If you're okay with 4K medium, great. Then you don't need a 1080 Ti. Maybe you need just a 1070 or 1070 Ti. But I've had good experiences running older games, especially older games like if you want to play like the BioShock or BioShock 2 remastered in 4K. You don't need a whole lot. You need like a 1060, 3 gig or 6 gig. If you want to run like Dark Souls 2 in 4K, you need like a 1050 Ti. You don't need a whole lot. But if you're going to run something like The Witcher 3 in 4K and you want ultra settings, yeah, you're definitely going to have to look more towards the 1080 Ti region.
And also need the CPU to support it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think with, like, if you go from 1080 to 4K, the CPU requirements, they don't really change. It goes up maybe a little bit, but not a whole lot. It's really when you start getting into the higher FPS that the CPU matters a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, you'd be better off spending more money on the GPU because at higher resolutions, the CPU is typically no longer the bottleneck, it's the GPU.
Sounds about right. I just know you told me that, okay, going from 2630Ls to something like 2667, like, I don't think that's going to make that big of a difference.
Yeah,
Oh, it did.
it's because you're going from 2.5 to 3.5. And I think
Right.
I think the jump from 3.5 to 4.5 is obviously not as much.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going
That
from
was
1.5 to 2.5, I would say, hell yeah, go for it. If you're going from
yeah.
2.5 to 3.5, yeah, you're going to notice a difference. But like 3.5 to 4.5, probably not as much.
Mm-hmm.
It'll still be better. Don't get me wrong.
Like when I gamed down in my basement on 4K. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're not.
In the house before we moved, I had a big ass projector that would project like 80 inches onto the wall,
Uh-huh.
and I'd game on that at 4K. And it looked great, but then to go to a 4K monitor versus a 1440 or something like that at 240 hertz, you can't tell the difference. And turning your graphics card into a giant heater box isn't worth it, in my opinion.
I mean, sometimes there's the value proposition of like, is it worth it? And the answer is probably not. But the other question is, does it look better? And the answer is definitely yes. It definitely looks better. So,
Oh yeah.
so it's like, will you have the same gaming experience? Yes. Will things potentially look better and run better at a lower resolution? Yes. Is it a better value proposition to say at 1080 or 1440? Probably, but 4K definitely looks better. So there's that. It's just kind of, again, deciding what's best for you, what you want to do. And like if you're playing
Like-
emulators at 4K, like if I'm playing my GameCube emulator at 4K, you don't need a whole lot of video card to do that.
No.
So
Or even Rocket League, I can play that at 4K at 60 hertz.
yeah,
But I prefer to play it at 1080p, 120 hertz.
Yep.
And even what is it? Tomb Raider. The new one, I can play that at 4K, but it looks way better at 1080p.
yeah.
That's just with a 1060.
Yeah, and to take it to its logical extreme, it's like Minecraft at 1080 versus Minecraft at 4K. It's like depends on what you're doing. Like it
Mhm.
probably looks better, but is it, is it really that big of a deal? Yeah.
Right.
Oh, I skipped a question. Why would you want two CPUs compared to one? Double the power, double the fun, double the RAM, potentially.
Doublemint gum.
That's a commercial.
But not exactly double the power.
Yeah, it's also the ability to go to like extremely high core counts, like 20 cores, 40 threads if you want to. Where if you're doing it with an i7, you're like even the highest end i7 right now is 6 cores, 12 threads. So, kind of stuck with that versus, the potential to run all the VMs you want or whatever. And also just dual $35 CPUs for
Yeah.
13K pass mark is an absolutely insane value proposition compared to spending $300 on a CPU alone to get 13K pass mark.
I just meant a lot of people think single CPU for the Xeons, they can just double it and, oh, that's the pass mark.
Right. And part of that
But-
is that the pass mark score isn't dual CPU optimized, so it doesn't necessarily work out the way it should. It should be a little bit closer to double than it is, but it's definitely not. So sometimes using the pass mark score for dual CPUs isn't really representative of what it can actually do.
It's wonky.
Yeah, it's a little wonky.
That's the technical term.
Is there any Unraid guys here want to talk about SSD caching?
Oh, I added that one just because I know it's a common question.
I can.
Oh,
I don't have the appropriate tag for it on Discord, but
I'll give it to
I
you.
can chill a little bit.
talk your
Um,
mouth out.
See, what was the question? Let me pull it up. Benefit of SSD cache with Unraid. So when we were talking about FreeNAS and Unraid, one of the big problems with Unraid is that it is not performance based at all, since you're writing to like 2 disks and it's doing the calculations for parity at the same time. You don't get very well
when you're writing and also
Yeah.
have a parity.
Yeah, when you're writing, you don't get a ton of performance when when ingesting content or
Yep.
uploading stuff to the server.
Just clarifying.
That's fine. An SSD cache basically just speeds that up, but it can be unprotected as well. So you can run a single SSD unprotected, or you can make it protected and kind of speed up that process as well. Personally, I have a cache drive in Unraid for ingestion, and then I also have an SSD where all my Docker containers live
No.
to kind of just speed up everything.
No.
Sorry. Gosh.
Jesus.
What did I do?
Is he talking to his
Talking with
girlfriend or
wife.
his dog? Or are they the same person?
No.
It's that vertical from Parks and Rec about Jerry's wife.
He did go to that convention a little while ago. What was it, a fur convention?
God, that's right.
I think it's feasible those could be the same in one.
Can I ask a question though?
Yeah.
So when I was
Maybe.
setting up my Unraid server, I don't know if this was just me and my inexperience in setting up, because I set
Yeah.
Plex up inside of Docker on Unraid. I wasn't quite sure how to like set up my transcoding and all my metadata to sit on the cache drive.
I'll recommend this to you, and it has nothing to do with this question. Is you split it into 2 problems. Do your metadata on your cache drive, and then I can send you a link to a guide on how to put your transcode directory on your RAM in your server. So you're
Oh,
not
that'd be awesome.
writing. Yeah, so you're not writing any data to your array or to your SSD for the stuff that's just going to get crap thrown to the side, anyways. That's what I do. I have like 64 gigs in my server, but my transcodes get written to RAM.
Yeah, because they're just
And-
gonna be read from in the immediate
Yeah.
future anyway, and then they get blown out and deleted anyway.
Exactly. Yeah, and if I can prolong the life of my drives or my SSD by doing that, then I'm going to take. Yeah, it's going to save me money because nothing's going to happen to the RAM.
Right. I do the same thing on Windows. I have a RAM drive set up, but I think it's a little bit more elegant on Unraid because I have to use software to set up a RAM drive, and then it writes to basically like a local disk that looks like a local disk, but it's actually RAM. But yeah, that's definitely the way to go.
And in Unraid, it's as simple as just changing one of the paths to a specific path. I think it's /TMP
Yeah.
is what it is, and it just writes it to RAM basically.
I'm gonna send you a message.
Yeah, I'm actually looking for the guide right now. Yeah.
That's pretty much the same with any Linux based OS, isn't it? I mean, that kind of stuff is built
Yeah.
into the tempfs.
Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things with SSD caching is AZ and I talked about this in our video. In my opinion, and he shares this sentiment a little bit, but I don't know that he's fully on board. I would definitely max out your RAM before doing SSD caching because Unraid does use it uses different tiers. It'll write to RAM first, and then once it runs out of RAM, it'll write to your SSD cache, and then once it runs out of SSD cache, then it'll write to your disk directly. So you can avoid using the SSD cache by, if you could put like 48 or 96 or 64 gig of RAM in it, it'll definitely use up all of that first before it even hits your SSD cache.
Space.
So a lot of times that money might be better spent on RAM than it would be on an SSD cache, but it's always handy to have an SSD cache because you can make your VMs live on there. Do you guys put your Dockers and stuff on there?
Yep.
Yeah.
All my entire app data share lives on my SSD.
Right.
Yep.
So it's useful for those things too, besides just to write cache as well.
And really, if you get down to the gist of it, my server is for storage. It doesn't need to be super fast when ingesting media. Like I can set up a copy and then go to bed. Like I'm not, 30 megabytes per second versus 60 to 100 to an SSD. If I'm not working on the server, then it doesn't matter to me really.
Yeah, I mean it's.
I would much rather see that in RAM or on, in Docker performance versus caching.
Right, and if you're going to be doing anything production oriented, you probably won't be using Unraid anyway. Like
Exactly.
anything performance like demanding. Not
Yeah.
to say that Unraid performs badly, it definitely does not, and it depends on what hardware you have for sure. But if you need like a medical database and you need everything to be accessed right now, Unraid is probably not the thing you're going to be using for it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
God, no,
I went
yeah.
with Unraid for the expandability
Mm-hmm.
and the ease of use. And if I want to get something that's the right tool for the job, I'll go with something else.
Yeah.
Right now, this is it.
Unrated is great for media expansion.
Exactly.
Yeah, and there's also ways to maximize the right tool for the job. So like you can pick something, and then you can also optimize that thing that you picked. Yeah.
And I sent you a link to the guide to move transcoding to RAM, and then the Space Invader 1 YouTube channel, which has a guide for pretty much anything you could think of.
Is that the guy that I can't stand
The British guy?
with the terrible
Yep.
thumbnails?
Yes. Yes. But his content is fantastic.
Yeah.
For people just learning it, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, the guy I can't stand even more is Bite My Bits.
Bite my bits. Oh. I watched a video of his today at work, and I'm just like, wow. Why did
This
I
is why
just...
you guys are here.
What? Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't understand how this guy gets views.
Can you put that transcode guide in the live stream channel?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's hands down. That's the best thing I can recommend to anybody running Unraid, or Linux for that matter, is to not use disk writes for crap that's just gonna disappear in an hour or two. There's too many channels on this server.
Well, you can minimize whole categories, like the info category.
Well, that's the problem. Is I've minimized everything and I still can't live stream.
It's in general.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, I know. We got a lot. We got a lot going on.
I remember when this was just a wee little Discord server.
Yeah, no, we got like 1,700.
Ooh. Ah, damn.
I mean, how many of those are active? I don't know. 1,800. Literally, exactly 1,800.
That's a neat trick.
Okay, let's see.
1,800. Wow. I'm gonna have to do something special for 2K.
Is there any other things we can bring up with SSD caching and Unraid?
I don't think so. I'm about to close this out. I think we've run. I think this chat has run its course. It's almost 2 hours. I'm gonna have to get around to extracting all the audio for these and uploading them to like iTunes podcasts or something.
Oh, I saved all the video.
Well, I mean, I have the videos too. I have them all recorded. Even like 1, 2, and 3. I've got those. I haven't stripped the audio yet. And anyway, well, thanks for hanging out, guys. It was a good 2 hours.
Thanks for hosting. It was a good.
Man Bear was
It was a
hosting.
good AMA. It was a good hangout session.
Thanks to
We
everyone
do
that
this.
asked.
We do this all the time too.
all the time. My ass.
Like once a month.
Yeah.
Upgrade my ass.
Yeah, everyone go in
God
the
damn it.
go in the general channel and just type !upgrade when you join the Discord server, and then
Oh goodness.
any final words of goodbye?
Thank you. You guys have been wonderful, and I appreciate all the help.
Hey, thanks for asking
Bye.
questions. Thanks to everyone that came in and asked questions.
Build
If you
out
need any
some
help,
education.
Blade, let me know. I can help out to some degree.
Before you buy, go into hardware
Yes.
and talk to us.
Ask questions.
Lots of questions.
Everyone say bye on 3. 1, 2, 3. Bye.
Bye.